Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TBH. We have Mr. Orlando Knight with us. Orlando, welcome.
Greetings, Bridget.
All right, really glad to have you on and really looking forward to this conversation. But before we go into the meat of the matter, who is Orlando Knight?
Well, that's a solid question. All right. Wow. I don't think anybody ever asked me that question before. So we start off on a very honest point. All right. So Orlando Knight is 35-year-old Jamaican living in Canada. Married, one child on the way, son to be exact.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, respect, you know. I have on my Facebook profile in the bio something similar to a believer in love and God and wealth creation and Black empowerment. That pretty much sums up who I am.
Nice. So you spoke about wealth creation. That's what we're going to be delving into. We're going to be speaking about wealth.
Yes, sir.
Accumulating wealth. So first I just want a general idea of why you, because I always see a posting, the wealthy mindset.
Yeah.
So I noticed that this is something that you're passionate about. Why are you so passionate about accumulating wealth? Why is that important for us to be thinking about?
Ever since I can remember myself, going to put it that way, I have always been fascinated by money, and not just money, but like the chase. I like the chase, but I never used to get lunch money. I never used to get what's the other one called? Allowance. I didn't start getting lunch money until grade 7, first form. But I always had money. My first little hustle, as I call it, was in about grade 1. My grandmother sent me a small electronic game. It was similar to a Game Boy, but it only had one game on it. It was called Ghost Catcher. So it used two AA batteries, and so I got the batteries with it, and I brought it to school, and I started selling games. So on the spot, I realized that I'm like, how am I gonna get them to stop playing and keep buying? So I said, whenever it says game over, your money is done. You have to try again. I've never gone at that point. I've never been to a game shop. Let me just specify that. So I started using my mind on the spot towards money. I guess out of a need for money, always sees people spending money, but I wasn't getting any. So I started using my brain on how to get money.
Pastor Knight never getting lunch money.
No. Here what happened. My mother used to teach at the high school, and I used to be at the prep school.
Okay.
So we used to go to school together, and my little sister came on the scene afterwards. So I would just go to the canteen and she would pay for it at the end of the month or whatever.
Right.
So there was really no, and we used to take the bus, and she was right there paying the bus fare. So I never really get to handle the money unless I made the money for myself.
Right.
So there was no real, it's not like I had a rich auntie or uncle that I was, exposed to, or rich people around me. But I guess it's just a natural thing, and I built on it over the years, because I realized that, with money you can acquire some things, including certain levels of freedom, and you can help people as well. I think that's another thing that I was looking at. People always needed help around. I would go to different churches, especially in the rural area and in the deepest parts of the corporate areas, urban areas, and people always needed help. My father could do only so much, I know more. The church people could do so much, I know more, the church. So it's like, if I guess in my subconscious, I was saying maybe if everybody was making more money, we could help each other out, you know, or there would be no need or so much need, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I guess it's a culmination of all those things that led me to, you know, that type of mindset. You know?
All right. So and when somebody might come and say, no, Bible said the love of money is the root of all evil. What's your response to that?
You know, I follow, or I have read a lot of material, secular and religious. I have read a lot of religious material, not just concerning this topic, but generally. And yes, it does say, the Bible does say the love of money is the root of all evil. But it didn't say money was the root of all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, money in itself, it's not an evil thing.
Right.
If it was an evil thing, we wouldn't have Alphateria Church, we wouldn't have Rally and all these things, you know, and we wouldn't be spending money as Christians and so on. So money in itself is not an evil device. It's when you don't utilize temperance when dealing with money, then you have a problem, you know. But that's what's my perspective. It's yes, the love of money is the root of all this. I agree with that to an extent at least. But but definitely, money is not an evil thing. It's not. Right. It's actually a very good thing. Right. I can prove it with the Bible as well. In many cases.
Right. I think for me, sometimes people love money for money's sake, for the sake of money itself. So it's just about just accumulating the numbers just for that purpose. But as you said, money can be used. You spoke about the need of persons and to help out, and you can only give if you have. You can't give what you don't have. You can't help if you don't have. So
right. And you know, sometimes there is this ideology towards people with money. You know, both in our culture, our religious culture, or different socioeconomic brackets, and other social types of classification. There's this ideology that rich people are evil. I don't know where this thing came from, or is that they're greedy, or listen, when you really get into how money really works, or currency, or the economy, you realize that the more money that's in the system is the more of everything that's created. More jobs are created. You know, more charities are helped out. The matter of fact, it's basically a requirement of the rich. You know, so even sometimes they will say, "Oh, the rich man doesn't pay much taxes." I don't think that's necessarily a fair statement. In some cases, like for example, some politicians in the US, you know, and elsewhere, they pay very small portions of taxes. But if you look at what they have been doing in terms of job creation, and not just the creation of the jobs, but the maintenance of the jobs. I mean, come on, how much more you want from these people? They are spending loads of money. Yes, they are benefiting as well. Of course, they are the ones that took the risk. They are the ones with the assets. So we get back to this whole asset and liability thing. Very important. Yeah. But I think people's ideology of money, the general population's idea of money or riches and wealth is really flawed. It's very flawed. And it is so deep because this thing is coming from way back. So it's not just a yesterday thing or a last generation or the previous one. Right. It's coming from hundreds, thousands of years. No.
I had a lecturer at NCU, and he used to always bring up the story in the Bible where Jesus said, like the rich young ruler who came to Jesus and Jesus told him what to do and he turned away, and then Jesus said that it's harder for, basically Jesus said it's hard for a rich man So, and then the disciples said, well, who can make it into heaven? And then Jesus said, with man it's impossible, but with God, all things are possible. But the lecturer had never read the last part there and just took on the first part. And so what he was saying was pretty much no rich person, you can't be a rich Christian. That's pretty much the basis. But then, as you said, there's so many examples of the Bible where persons were rich. Job was rich, Abraham was rich. Like there's so many examples of persons that were wealthy, but that didn't compromise their integrity. And so it goes to the point that you're making.
And to expound on the point that you made about it's harder for the rich man to get into heaven than something through the eye of the needle.
The camera through the eye of the needle.
Right. It said it's difficult. It didn't say it was impossible.
Right.
So we don't even read the rest of the verse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is how I think, and that is how most. Well, I don't want to put myself in wealthy category, but that is how a lot of entrepreneurs and wealth creators think very critically.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing. I think all of this stems from critical thinking, without even realizing that that's what I was doing at an early age.
Gotcha. So I heard you speak on assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
I heard a guy came to my church here in Brooklyn, and he gave a presentation on wealth and wealth creation.
Yeah.
And he said two things. He said the first thing he said is you should only spend your money on assets. That's the first thing he said. Only spend your money on assets. And then this was his definition of assets and liabilities. He said assets are anything that brings money into your account. Liabilities is anything that takes money out of your account. And he said, only spend money on assets, period. What do you have to say about assets and liabilities?
I agree with, well, he said only, maybe, I would say you have to create a balance.
Okay.
Because you can't just be buying assets just all willy-nilly. You have to enjoy life a little with liabilities. And I support that wholeheartedly, especially if you're a hardworking person.
Okay.
But yes, I agree with what he said generally. And the definitions as well. Those definitions, however, are not taught in schools. No, derivatives of those definitions are taught in schools, but not those definitions. Those definitions were word for word coined by Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Well, he got them from his rich dad, which is his adopted father, so to speak, his best friend's father. I heard about this book and I read it, and I had some friends in NCU that introduced me to the book in about 2007, 2008. Completely changed my life, completely, because it answered a lot of the questions I had, right? And the storyline of that book is eerily similar to my personal life story. You know what I mean? Without even getting into the details, but the book spoke to me, and I have tested most of those principles, because I don't agree with all of them either.
Okay.
But majority of them, I have tested the asset and liabilities principles, and believe me, that's where it is. That is literally the foundation of this. Believe me. Ensure that your asset class, stuff that brings money to your pocket or your account, is always more than your liabilities, or even better, use the assets to pay for liabilities. So for every 10 asset that you acquire, or whatever ratio you want to use, if your liability should be at least 10 times less. So yeah, it works. That is the foundation. And that's why many celebrities and others, they make a lot of money and then they go broke, because they weren't buying assets, or what are real assets. They were buying assets that they were taught.
All right, so break it down now. Give me an example of a real asset.
All right, so assets are, real estate, stocks, We have cryptocurrencies now and digital assets. I'll get to that later. We look at stuff like houses, condos, all of that fall under real estate. A lot of things that were liabilities are becoming assets. And you see a lot of that now, especially during or because of COVID.
Okay.
Believe it or not. For example, people would just have cars and they would just drive the cars to work and park them and go to work and then come back to the car and drive home. The car is a big liability. It's not. You could have taken the bus or the train, regardless of how far it is. You know, you have to maintain the car, you have to service it, you have to license and insure all these things. But you can now rent your car on apps like Turo. You know, you can do here we have Skip the Dishes, which is like Uber Eats.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so on. A house, that was a big debate. In that book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he said a house is a liability, the house that you live in with your family. Because it really and truly is not making any money. I used to agree with that, and I still agree with it to a large extent, but I discovered equity, right? Equity is the difference between the value of the property and how much you paid for it or how much you have owned on it. So there's this amount of money that you can't really touch, but it's there. So technically, it's not a liability. And technically, it's not an asset. It all depends on how you want to utilize it.
Gotcha.
If you plan to live in that house for the rest of your life, it might not be an asset. You know, but if you're renting it, or if you plan to sell it and to get the equity out of it,
yeah.
Or if you want to borrow some money against the equity, get a loan and purchase another place, you know. So as long as you're using it other than just living in it, from a financial point of view,
yeah,
it's not an asset, it's a liability.
Gotcha. All right. So the average person, right, has a job, watching this interview, wants to start a business, but them hear real estate, them thinks that, oh gosh, that's too big. Them hear stocks, no, nothing, like everything sounds like you have to have millions of dollars or a lot of money to get into it. What would you say to the average person, has a job, probably wants to accumulate some wealth, but doesn't know how to start? What would you say to that person?
All right. So the first thing to do is to research, because you can't invest in things that you don't understand. All right. I don't promote that. I don't think it's wise. You know what I mean? So the first thing you have to do is to research. It doesn't cost money to research, especially now with the advent of the internet.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Secondly, you have to simplify things, right? And that was the method I used with my business that I had in Jamaica, Tie Hard. I made it very simple and very easy to access and understand. Real estate is accessible by virtually everybody that is working. How? When we think real estate, we think land, and we think you have to buy land, you have to buy a house, you have to buy a condo, you have to buy a townhouse, whatever it is. Not necessarily. The internet, again, makes it very easy. You can actually buy fractions or invest into fractions of real estate investment trusts right now for $20, $15, $5. That's actually one of the ways outside of this this condo that I bought with my wife last year, and we have some property back home. Long story, but most of the investment that I do in real estate is via what are called REITs, REITs. It's an acronym for Real Estate Investment Trust. You buy through the stock exchange, on the stock apps, and so on. So for $5, you can own a share of commercial properties in cities that they're renting buildings to Walmart and other big companies, they have 25-year leases. So whether or not they have the money to pay the rent, essentially they have to find it, or file for bankruptcy, in which case the money is insured, so you still get paid. And the next duty about real estate investment trust, be sure to look up real estate investment trusts, is that they pay monthly. So here in Canada, the real estate investment trust, they collect their rent on the first of the month. Generally, that's like a generally accepted law or rule. And the real estate investment trust pay the dividends by the middle of the month. So it's like you're collecting rent without even setting foot into the property. Properties that I have invested in, I don't know where they are, other than what I see on their website. Yeah, I have the skyscrapers. You will hear people like Floyd Mayweather said that he invested in skyscrapers in Manhattan and in Toronto and wherever, and in Los Angeles. Real estate investment trust the money use. And some of them they pay like 10% for the year. That's so the dividends that they pay is monthly. That is a portion, your portion as a real estate owner. And then the stock price appreciates as well over time. That is another way of earning. So there are two ways to earn from that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the stock, with stocks. It works the same way, but some stocks pay dividends every 3 months, every quarter, or biannually or annually. So that is how I would suggest to get into that. You research first, and then for $5 you can invest in you mean the dividends won't be big, but at least you get a foot into the door. And that's another reason why I didn't buy a house at this point in time, because a condo is literally the entry level. A condo is an apartment unit. A condo is an entry into physical real estate. So you get a title and all these things, and you get the benefits of being a real estate owner, a property owner, taxes, etc. So instead of buying one house and sitting in it with my wife and my son, I spend half the money that the house would cost here in Edmonton, and then it's growing in equity. I can use the equity now, get a loan, and get another property. So for the price of one house, I can get 2 condos and collect more rent if I wanted to do that, which is essentially what I'm planning to do. So, and how did I figure this out? Research, Google. As much as they say Wikipedia is not a credible source, there's still some information there. And YouTube is literally my best friend. YouTube, at one point on my Facebook page, I took NCU off it and put YouTube on Google, college and university. Because to be honest, I learned more, I have learned more from Google, even when I was at university.
Right.
Google and YouTube, I use the same way. So, that's what I would suggest. Everybody can access it. And the apps now, 0 commission. They don't even have to pay commission again, like first time stocks and everything for rich people. Everybody can do it now, everybody. Yeah, man. I had a different portfolio from my wife, even though we were investing in the same stuff, essentially. So, yeah.
So question, so like if somebody jumps into this, the real estate thing, is there a risk, and what's that like?
Well, in every investment, once you deal with money, there's risk, right? And this is how research comes in again. You find out how to mitigate risk as much as possible, which is one of the reasons why I don't necessarily buy stocks in one single company. Like I don't own Tesla, or I don't own in Jamaica. I don't own Carib Cement. I had some Wigton, sold it, but I don't really invest in one company. I invest in what are called ETFs, exchange traded funds, which is a group of stocks, right? And you have index funds, again, group of stocks. They have the creme de la creme of the stock market in those funds. So you get small portions of each of those companies. So the likelihood of 500 companies going bankrupt on the same day is next to impossible. And the creme de la creme. If one company goes south one day, that their numbers aren't reflecting the requirements for being on or to be listed in the fund, they are delisted and the next best one is put into the fund. The risk is literally almost zero. It is so negligible that it's not even on the plus side of the percentage. So that is what I suggest again. ETFs, index funds, and REITs. Why REITs? When you buy a house to rent, or you build a house in Jamaica, for the most part, you build some rooms or whatever to rent. A lot of things can happen, right? You have people not paying the rent, then burn down the place, anybody would have no insurance, or whatever it is, right? Or then bring in people, gunman follow people coming in your house and the place is no longer marketable, landslides and all these things. Even though you're going to insure it, all of these things cost a lot of money to build, to insure, to maintain. They're going to mess up your house. You're going to have to paint it, all of these things. When you invest in a real estate trust, these companies do everything for you. It's literally money working for you. You're collecting rent as an owner, essentially, without the big overhead. You know what I mean?
All right, so I want to touch on something that you said earlier. You said that you learned more on Google than you learned at NCU. Now,
that's a fact.
Now, you and I were working somewhere. I'm not going to say where we were working in the past.
Yeah.
Right? But you're telling some of the young people there that they don't have to go to college. Right? I remember that. It's a problem. It's a problem amongst admin. Talk to me about college and your views on college. Is college valuable? Is it worth it? Talk to me about college.
There's a verse in the Bible that I got from a spoken word artist on YouTube. It says, it's Proverbs 17, verse 16, right? It says, it does a fool no good to spend money on an education because he has no common sense. Like, I literally cannot make this up. It's right. This is not me. This is, let me see which version this is. It's Good News Translation, right? No,
what?
I did a little reading.
Repeat the verse.
It's Proverbs 17, verse 16.
All right.
So I did a little research on it. It goes on further to say other things. Because in Proverbs, sometimes it will say one thing and then it will balance it out with something.
Yeah.
I want to focus on this part for a minute because I'm sure as day fall and night, most people never hear this before in their life. I never hear this till probably like 5 years ago.
First man hear it.
Exactly. So essentially what this is saying, from what I gathered, is that it does a person, or it will only take a fool to have money in his hand and try to buy education when he doesn't have any common sense. First of all, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody still, but picture this with me, right? When you're going to NCU and you reach to the main gate, you can turn left to go to the Thai Center and the bookstore, or you make a right turn at the stoplight to go onto the main campus, right?
Right.
So generally when you go to NCU now, you take the right turn first, you go on campus, you do your registration, orientation, and all these things. You know where they send you after that? Back across the road to go buy the book to read. Why do they do that? Because just like with UWI, just like with Yale, Harvard, everywhere, all of these tertiary institutions, let's say you're reading for your degree. So why are we bringing the money over to the main campus, to the finance department, for them to just send us back to their bookstore to buy the book, to read it? Notice, tertiary institution teachers, they're not called teachers, they're called lecturers.
Right.
They're called professors, and so on. They're not teaching you anything really. They're facilitators. They're facilitating you're reading off the books, essentially. So if you have enough common sense, so to speak, you can bypass that, which is why I stopped at an associate degree. Because I realized, but I never want to go to university from day one, to be honest. But, you know, like the snacks and thing, and you know, I want to ensure that I have somewhere to live until I get to, you know, the way. But, I mean, there are benefits, and there were benefits, you know.
Right.
The fact that we are having this discourse right now is as a result of that, right? Because that's where we met.
Right.
But generally, instead of doing even a bachelor's degree or a master's right now, I'd rather to buy a multi-unit property and rent it out. Here's why. Fundamentally though, I would choose not going to university for the most part, because some fields it's a requirement. Right. Doctor, they always bring up doctor, engineer, lawyer.
Yeah.
And besides all of them things, they kind of want to done it. Right? Nobody don't read it. You know what I mean? So here's the real reason why. Before even having my son on the way and before even getting married, I sit down and reason out the thing. My father has a doctoral degree, right? My mother has a master's. She's a PhD candidate, right? My sister is a PhD candidate as well. And I have an associate degree. I follow the story. If I had my father's name without even the junior on it, same name, Clifton Robert Knight. Mm-hmm. If he passes away, God forbid, I can't use his degree. I can't use it, you know. Like it literally dead with him. I just the paper left, right?
Yeah.
So in life, it benefits him and us to some extent. But as long as he dies, the law say done. And with good reason, because I never studied what he studied or at to that level, right? Mm-hmm. So why am I going to spend $3 million on a doctoral degree and Kyrie cannot use it? Remember, I know, the Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children. Now, I can risk it, and because I consider it a risk for going to school to do higher education. And then I put education in. It's to be honest, right? So I'm being 100%. Yes, sir. This is my regular discourse, like this is what we talk on a daily basis. Instead of going back to school, I'd rather to buy some more property. Build equity in these properties and buy more properties, right? If at some point in time, I feel the need for, as I'm called, self-fulfillment, which I don't feel fulfilled to a degree, to be honest, then maybe it's all right. I want to show him that I'm not a quitter, so I started this thing, so I'm going to finish it. That's the only reason why I would go back. The only other reason I would go back to tertiary institution is to do law. Okay. Understand? And just because I can do it independently, do the bar or whatever. But I always wanted to be a lawyer from a very young age. But then again, the church have some liberty with them tell that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But no, we have pastors as lawyers, so I guess it's okay. Right? so yeah, I mean, education, as I said, as I mentioned, education is a very loosely used word. It's probably one of the most loosely used words in the English language. Education doesn't come from an institution. Education, as a matter of fact, this is what I used to say. My friend used to talk about everything at school, at university. The first degree must have come from somebody that did not have a degree. Right. It have to start somewhere. And if he had a degree, or if they had degrees, they confer them on themselves. Right. So where did they get the knowledge from to say, okay, I'm not a master of this discipline. I'm not a doctor of this discipline. Then go study it independently.
Mm-hmm.
There was no institution. They created the institutions and the system.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now again with the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I can get all of my information for free. I didn't go to school to learn about stocks, forex trading, binary options trading, REITs, real estate. Next thing, one more thing before you ask another question. You know how I got into this real estate thing? One of my friends was going to do a real estate course in New York. And the course was $3,000. The course also came with a few templates on how to, arrange different kitchen styles and stuff like that. So when you're doing your flips, when you're flipping houses, meaning you buy a house, you set it up and you sell it for a higher profit, for a higher price for profit, right? I said, okay, I am no longer working at the institution that we used to work at together. I have some time, I'm building my business. I'm going to use this time to educate myself for free. So I went on YouTube for about 6 weeks, almost every night. And I wrote down different topics, different aspects of real estate that I wanted to learn, that I think would have made me comprehensive in the field, right? And each night I would watch a different video from a credible source regarding those topics, right? And I would fall asleep with the earphones in my ears on purpose. Because somewhere in psychology we learn, so when you fall asleep with things playing in your ears, it resides in your subconscious. And it worked for real because sometimes I was talking about things, I'm like, where did I get that? It was playing when I was when I was sleeping. So I educated myself on real estate. I learned a lot of stock market trading from movies. I Googled every single stock market movie ever made, and I got a Wikipedia list. I went on torrents and I downloaded all of them and I watched them because I was working. I was just, the tired was building, and sometimes I was home for like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I used the time wisely. So it's safe to say I'm educated in those fields without student loan.
It's true what you say about the like falling asleep, because sometimes I notice I might be sleeping with something playing, but whatever is being said is worked into like a dream that I'm having, right? So the ears are still working, it's still listening, so the information is still registering. It's just that you're sleeping, but the ear is still working. I know some persons are gonna be watching this and are gonna say, some persons that are in college, and I say, so you call me fool because I'm in college. Like, I just want you to clarify so nobody gets the wrong impression.
Okay, first of all, I was reading Proverbs. So technically, this is what David, no, Solomon, I wouldn't write Proverbs like it.
Solomon.
Yeah, Solomon, the wise man. Solomon said it. But it doesn't mean that because you're in university you're a fool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But what I would say is, if you don't spend the time to realize that what you're doing is an option and not a must,
right,
then you have a serious problem. You know, I used to discourage people from going to university, like seriously. But I realized that not everybody has the inclination to really do certain things, and they can't really teach themselves certain things, and that's fine.
That's something that's going to bring up as well, because some persons don't have the drive that you would have, and just to some persons need somebody to be telling them what to do.
Exactly. So, I revised a few of my perspectives, but it was coming from, a lot of those things were coming from places of subjection and me feeling like, why am I being classified this way? Why does it have to be this way? People. That was one of the main what was one of the major issues I had and still have with being a pastor's child is there's this expectation that because you're a pastor's son, somehow you are expected to, be a teacher, lawyer, doctor, engineer. Like basically that's it, nurse.
Nice.
You know what I mean? And if you deviate, especially if you go into the skills, the hands-on industries, then your IQ is just not high. So you get the head camera and all kind of foolishness. And it's a real thing. It is discussed, in what is called like a fraternity type of thing. But and that is one of the reasons why I push myself to educate myself so much, because I need to prove not just those people wrong, I need to prove myself right, and I need to show other people that, because not everybody gets to go to university, and the student loan thing is real. I saw one of our former schoolmates announced, I think yesterday or the day before, that she finished the student loan in Jamaica. And I'm pretty sure she graduated maybe 6-7 years now. A lot of things could have happened in those 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Because so much money has to go back to paying for this education. Like, you know what I mean? I know people that just quit, they just can't pay it back, that's it. So they live the rest of their life with this shadow following them everywhere. It's like, them subconscious, them conscience is like, I owe these people, I need to pay them, but I literally cannot. You know what I mean? So I just want to show that there are options.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling my students back in the days. I wanted to capture their attention, and I know a lot of them, they just wouldn't have necessarily matriculated into university. What are you gonna do? Everybody's saying you go to college, go to university. To do what? When you have the aptitude to do something else.
Right.
I was just trying to show that, look, there are options. Those were fifth form students I was talking to. You know what I mean? Kind of let the puss out of the bubble. But I was looking at them, and some of them were very nervous because they know they're not going to pass 5 CXC. They know. So what are you going to do? The girls, them are going to just have be a pitney and just, that's it? Come on, man. You have hairdressers that make millions. You know what I mean? One youth, it was in a program with the name was GNAT, grade 9 assessment, whatever. This youth is a brilliant barber. When he does a fade and a line, the man look like he used on stencil. Sick. But everybody applaud him, say, yo, you need to go to university. Bruh. The man is an artist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this another thing, all of this is wealth creation, by the way, in the perspective needed for real wealth creation. The rich man, all right, this Jack Ma, the owner of the creator of Alibaba.com and AliExpress.
Okay.
Right? Richest man of China at one point. Jack Ma told his son that it's not about getting good grades in school. It's about doing your best, learning as much as you can learn, and networking with your counterparts. Right? Essentially, I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
The rich man will tell his child or ask him, what do you want to be in life? Right? You don't have to come run the business, but what do you want? I want to be so and so. And from day one, they realize it too, and then push them. I want to be a singer, okay. Like Tommy Chin and Tessa and Chin. They could have been whatever. Their father could have pushed them to be whatever. Just singing and say, all right, fine. Let's go singing. Sing, be the best singer you can be.
Right.
At the same time, teach them how to make everything into a business and how to earn from it.
Right.
Learn the ins and outs of the financial part.
Yeah.
Too many families, church and in the society don't want to talk about money. That is a fundamental problem, especially in our ethnic group, Bridget. It is very sad. And then use the Bible. A lot of people, again, as I said previously, they use the Bible to encourage the foolishness. I am calling it foolishness straight up because I'm being very honest. It is madness. You're using this device every day, and you're literally telling people to go to university, and you push them and say, get student loan or whatever. Why? So that they can get a good job with good benefits and good pay. You come right back down to money. So why are we afraid to talk about money? Right. Why are we afraid to talk about money? People say there's another ideology that says, one time I asked one of my cousins, older cousin, lady. I heard her say one day that she doesn't want to be rich. So out of curiosity, I asked her why. She said, when you're rich, you don't feel close to God anymore. Okay. Me can tell you personally, when we have money, or when money around, the more spiritual me feel. We start singing beer gospel and beer things. But when we broke, trust me, rough man. But when money around, Bridget, I tell you. So it's all about an ideology, and my ideology stems from the discussions I've had over the years. I've had friends where parents have it, and it's not being hidden because it's talked about.
Yeah.
And then in turn come and have it. So when I said my story is similar to Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm very serious. In that book, his biological father had a doctorate, and I'm very big on education. He was the Secretary of Education for the state of Hawaii. My father happens to be the education director of Central Jamaica Conference. Eerily similar, bro. Right? And then my Virgin father now that I went to university with, they were doing pretty well, and I would sit and talk with their dad, and it was two different persons. My father is a stickler or whatever they call it for academics. He loved school, 4.0 right through, and he was proud. Right now, if they say that didn't want to go back to school, wherever I might find the money from, boom. But if it's a business, look what you hold in a bridge. You know what I mean? But in their case, it was different. It was different. Yes, they were in university, but they were learning about business and money as well on the sidelines, right? And they only went to university because they wanted to, because they had siblings that didn't go, because it's not that important. You know what I mean? Wherever you're gonna go to get information and the know-how to do what you need to do that. I will help you. You don't have to go to university.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. So many of my friends go school, go study, have a degree in something, and they're working in something totally different. Totally nothing to do with them degree, nothing at all. Right. Ready the Geo?
Yeah.
Right.
When I started NCU, I started Moscow. And I did that for 2 years. And my aim was to do a minor in geography. But then after 2 years, they started to offer a bachelor's in geography, which is what I wanted to do if I was going to go to NCU. So I switched them around. But the geography that I was doing, I couldn't do a minor in Moscow. I had to do a minor in education. I was the only person at NCU, and as far as I know, the only one that registered to do that course. It was geography education. Bachelor's in geography education. Only a student on the campus. But because I was the only one, there's another issue with this university thing. Right? They have a bulletin, but because I was the only one, I was being used as a guinea pig, so to speak. So I was doing courses, passing them, but it's like them can't done because they keep adding. because they want to say, oh, maybe we should have. So, like statistics, for example. We do statistics like 6 times. That's 6 different ways.
Wow.
Bro, I can't make this up. That's 6 different statistics, 5 different statistics course.
Wow.
In the same department, in the same course. Simply because I wanted to see which one they should use. I'm like, bro, if you're gonna use me as a guinea pig, at least let me know. Don't let me find out. You can't just spend money and just go on
Right.
to infinity and beyond. But if you start my life. So I switched from geography education when we spot the rate and switched to applied environmental geography.
Uh-huh.
And my minor there was social studies. I could keep the same minor from the previous geography. So it's going on, and then chemistry started giving me a fight. I'm like, yo, I can switch back it up. I would say, you know what, as a matter of fact, let us stand up on my 1, 2 feet, you know. I'm an adult now. I'm not really get no benefit from conference again. This thing is getting expensive. I'm out, you see me? So let's finish up the associate degree and take up myself. If I wanted to finish a bachelor's degree in applied environmental geography, I have like maybe 21, 22 credits left.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. But well, on paper, but whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something you said earlier about education and grades, because I saw a post on Facebook where a person said that students cheat because good grades is set as a priority and not learning, right? So good grades is the currency, and that's what you have to get. And so if it means I have to cheat to get the grades, that's what I'm gonna do. It's about the grades. It's not really about actually learning.
Right. Yeah, I let the nail upon the head, Bridget. I tell us, grades, if they use transcript to essentially judge a person's education and history. Okay, it's a part of the standard, fine. You know what I mean? But it shouldn't be used wholeheartedly as basically the only reference. You know what I mean?
Right.
Actually ask the person what they know. You know what I mean? Or let them show you if it's a hands-on type of thing. For example, or for example an example of how it can be misleading is when I was in high school, some of the guys and girls that were getting the highest GPAs at that time, right now, most of them, they never pass a bachelor's degree. Why? It's not because they have the same mentality as me, because these are people I have talked to. Some of them actually referred them. It's not because they have the same mentality as me. Like literally they buck and max out because when they were in high school, everything was basically provided for them. Some of them, parents did them assignment and anything. You know, they were just gliding through, and a lot of them their parents used to work in the Adventist system. So it's like,
yeah.
You know, they get by with certain things. I was a rebel, so whenever you get through everything, you know what I mean? Tough it out. But when they go out to know in the real world now, they weren't ready. I'm still not ready. Because when you become a nurse and you go to work at the hospital, nobody not gonna say, boy, you're pastor so and so daughter or doctor so and so daughter. Right. You know, I'm kind of guy there. You have your bachelor's in nursing, so what? No, you pay, you did the work. Why? And them stress out and then they mash up. I've seen it so many times.
I was thinking about this just this week, where when I was in high school, I was always one of the more intelligent students, right? So I used to always understand, I used to always perform well on tests and so forth and so on. But persons would always end up with higher averages than me or higher grades than me. You know why? Because if I'm doing an assignment, horrible with presentation, right? They will come with the ribbon and the color print and present it when I see their assignments, I just want to dash your mind, right? So they would always be good at that. But as it relates to like understanding information and being able to replicate that, that was my thing. But as I'm saying, that doesn't always reflect on the final grade. So
Right.
education system, it doesn't always like highlight competence. The grade doesn't always highlight competence. So that's just one of them things.
Yeah, it's a reality. The reality. When I was in university, I heard a professor saying that really and truly, 95% of what you need out there in the world, you're gonna have to get it out there. But basically, only 5% of what you're learning here, or what you're exposed to here, is what you're gonna use.
Right.
That's the next reason why I wonder, because the ratio that
I know.
you know, it's not adding up. 5%. So why are you borrowing $4 or $5 million to only get 5% of what you really need? It's not making sense to me. You see, what I have come to realize though is that this whole university thing is a social. It's about social ranking and social economic status, which really and truly, not at the time. You get the social, but not the economics. Because enough of the time you have big degree and you're broke. I tell you, I know so many of them because they're not thinking about assets versus liabilities and stuff like that. That's too basic, you know. I'm a so and so. So
yeah.
Bridget, it's very difficult for me to really say me to go back to university.
Gotcha.
I enjoyed my time there, of course.
Yeah, man, definitely. What I would say is you pointed out where with some professions it's definitely a requirement.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned the networking, because as you said, that's how we met. And so the networking is definitely beneficial, and also being around persons that are studying different things.
Yeah.
So it has its benefits, but it's just, as you said, to have people to know that there are options.
That is it.
And to look at it for what it is and what it isn't.
Right.
You can make an
be truthful about
decision.
it. Be honest about it.
Right.
Be true to yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be true to yourself. I well, right now, you were saying, well, when we were talking before this started, you were saying, what am I doing now in terms of career and income and so on.
Right.
So basically, well, right now I work at a car wash and detailing center.
Okay.
So we'll get back to that. And I'm an investor, real estate again, and cryptocurrency, digital assets, major part of my investment portfolio right now. As an emerging market, I'm trying to get a head start, or I have gotten a head start on this thing. So, and you know, I do some investment back home. You know, have you ever heard of emergency vitamin C supplements?
No.
Little pouch thing, you put the vitamin C in the water and it changes the color. Like 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife and I distribute that in Jamaica. I have products being sold in Jamaica still, even though I haven't been to Jamaica in almost 4 years, but commerce is still going on. I mean, that's basically it right now. Oh, I have partnerships I have stakes in small businesses that I helped to start or just invested in. Like my cousin and I have a business that deals with rings. I don't want to say jewelry. Yeah, I mean, but engagement bands, wedding bands, stuff like that.
Yeah. And
we specialize in sterling silver. You know, people want white gold, platinum, and so on. But the money, especially back home, not really so tall. So we give them the alternative and we educate them as to the similarities between silver and white gold. To the naked, untrained eye, you can't really tell the difference. They're pretty much the same color, and it's a natural metal, and it is solid. It won't turn your finger green or give you any rashes or anything like that. It's pure, 92.5% pure, and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's basically it. My wife is a early childhood educator here. So back to detailing. So when I just came here, my first job was a sales rep at the Ram dealership, Dodge Ram and Jeep dealership, Chrysler. And but that was strictly commission based. I just wanted to get a foot in the door.
Right.
Get something on your resume with Canadian employment. And then I applied for, without even realizing, I applied for a job at the car wash as a service advisor. So I was selling detailed packages, rug shampoo, seed shampoo packages, ceramic coating, stuff like that. Thousands of dollars in commissions and stuff like that, and sales rather. But I really wanted to learn detailing because I've always wanted to work in the auto field. From day one, I knew I wanted to be a rich man. I knew I wanted to be in the auto sector. I thought I wanted to be a mechanic. I don't want to be a mechanic. I found the passion that is detailing. Detailing, trust me. The best thing for me with detailing is that it is unregulated. So I literally don't need any certification in the field.
Tell the people what detailing is.
Auto detailing is basically cleaning vehicles, but in a more comprehensive way.
Okay.
So we deal with more intricate cleaning. Okay. So shampooing, because you can't just turn on a hose that a car, you have to know where because you mess up the electronics and stuff like that. So all of it is like a science behind it. So you have to know your chemicals, you have to know the ratio of the chemicals, you have to know the different techniques, you have to know to use pressure versus, there's a lot of different stuff. And it takes a while to learn it properly.
The same chemistry that I struggle with, ain't you?
Trust me, right now, chemists full 100%. I tell you, equation and everything, man. Equation them balance up on carbons, and you know what I mean? Yeah, man. So he come back full 100 because I did learn some stuff from that course, but
Yeah.
The first time I did the chemistry, and it was at the university level, so it was very new.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it is a very lucrative market. So what I am doing right now is putting together my own detailing business. As a matter of fact, today I spoke to somebody about a van. One of my former co-workers that left and started his own cleaning business, but it's not auto detailing. He's doing house cleaning and apartments and stuff like that.
Okay.
So with detailing, where I work, the prices are like, to do full detailing on the interior of the car or SUV, it starts at 420 Canadian dollars. Where we used to work, never used to make that for the month. Not even close. Especially the first year. For the month. Yeah. So and these people do well, where I work is one of the slower stores. They have 10 stores. 10 car washes and detail centers in Edmonton, in Calgary, which is south of here, and in British Columbia, close to Vancouver.
Okay.
So they'll do at the store that I work. It ranks at like number 8 or number 9 in terms of sales, and they'll do up to 200 cars for the day. Right?
I was gonna ask that. Like, how much people really come and do that? That's gonna.
I mean, for that full detail package, you might do a maximum of 8 of those for the day. But you have medium level detail. Those are in the 200 bracket, 300. And then you have the small detail, which is in Jamaica, what you do at a car wash, when they put on the emerald on the dashboard and thing, and put on the tire shine or whatever on your wheels. That's here is called a vinyl conditioning package, and that's $100.
That's small stuff. That is.
So I am literally, I have started to do detailing on the side, but I am putting it together in a really professional way, because you can't do business, so you do business at Jamaica. Here, you have to really, you got to step your game up, so that's what I'm doing right now. Potential in that business, from just me working by myself, I can make $10,000 a month. Easy. As long as I get the contract, 2 cars a day, 10 grand. That's it. That's like 1.3 million Jamaican dollars for the month. No education. from a tertiary institution to do this thing. And if and when I have some employees, I have some people lined up, co-workers that want to make some extra money, but then they have the business mindset, they have the work mindset. So I employ them and pay them on commission basis.
Yeah.
So we can do up to maybe 20,000. That's the aim.
Wow.
Yeah,
man. I want to congratulate you on all you're doing, all you're accomplishing. You're proving yourself right. I like that. Come on, definitely.
Respect,
Yeah, man, and keep doing what you're doing. I just one last thing I want to say. So I'm known, persons know me now primarily for music, right?
Right.
In high school, that wasn't the case. A lot of persons didn't know me to be musical at all. And, I was doing my math, my physics, my all them things. Yeah. And I remember when I left high school and I was going to college, and a church sister asked me, what am I going to study? And I said, I'm going to do music. And she was like, music with those grades? Right? Like, it's like, if you're intelligent, you have to do, as you said, the lawyer, the doctor, the teacher, or whatever, the nurse or whatever. But as you said about Tessa and Tammy, if they might be singing, they might be singing or whatever it is you want to do. So I just want to encourage the persons that, like, whatever you want to do, you can do it, and but you have to learn how to make money from it. You have to learn how to be successful,
right,
in whatever it is, and just learn the industry of whatever that is, and strive to be great at it. So
yeah, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Is there anything else that the people need to know?
2 things. Firstly, please follow my page on Instagram, The Wealthy Mindset, DA_wealthy_mindset. We aim to post something based on, relating to wealth creation and just a general wealthy mindset on a daily basis. We skip a day or 2, but we're busy, so. And right now it's a labor of love, you know what I mean? And so many people have contacted me saying that they have read so much from the page. And while I'm getting the content for the page, I am learning as well. And I'm being reminded of a lot of things, So if you want to get some more information, just Instagram, check out the page. We have about 200 posts so far, so there's a lot of content there. And the next thing is the reason why the real reason why I accepted the invitation to the show is because, Virgin, this show, I don't know if you understand the impact. Don't watch the views. Don't stop. Because these topics are topics that need to be discussed, Virgin. Masturbation and all the thing there. Real. Real. And these things I talk about in hushed tones. And I said to my wife one day that, so that show you a real show though. And we don't really love to go on it and talk about it. This very topic. And I think it was the next day you contacted me and I said, what you want?
Yeah.
So I think these are topics that, you don't really get to hear about them in Bible class and
Yeah.
panel discussion, the famous panel discussion at the Sabbath School, AY. So at least not in Jamaica and the Caribbean, Africa. But maybe here, maybe in Brooklyn. I mean, but a time for we to start discuss some things, and because these are things that we're exposed to. You know what I mean? Or we're gonna deal with homosexuality. I've asked pastors in the past, so we're not gonna deal with homosexuality in our church, Virgin. It's coming. You have to deal with it. You can't beat around the bush anymore.
Right.
It's a different time. You know what I mean? Millennials, they're very dear in Virgin. And the generation after, forget the name, was Z or so. They're crazy about it. They're not a joke. It's not a play thing anymore. You know? And you know, and as it shows, as the name of the show said, to be honest, you know, there are a lot of things being preached in church. And I really, I mean, kind of about it still, but I think there needs to be some honesty, or more honesty about some topics. So I really appreciate the show, you know what I mean? And I really encourage people to watch and to share, like, and subscribe.
Yeah, man.
And I'm saying that from a very genuine point of view. Thanks for the invitation as well.
Yeah, man, really appreciate that. I remember when I reached, because as I said, I always see you posting about it. So I said, you know, I need to have Orlando on the show. And I remember when I reached out to you and you said that, yeah, man, you actually wanted to come on. I was like, see that. Yeah,
I enjoy this, you know.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Respect.
Yeah, man, thanks again. Really appreciate the time. And yeah, man, more success in all you're doing.
Bless up.
Gentle people, so it's another episode. Peace out.